Sumi, Cami, other family members, and friends of Lee. I am one of Lee's college classmates. Today, most of our classmates are in Taiwan for a class reunion. I represent our class from the Department of Agricultural Chemistry, National Taiwan University, joining you in celebrating Lee's life on Earth. After our postdoctoral training, Lee and I both landed in Davis, and since then, our families have treasured our friendship for many, many years. I still remember vividly the day we met again after Lee and Grace came to Davis from Wisconsin. Lee was cradling baby Sumi in his arms. To me, it seems like just yesterday. As a person, Lee was gentle, always courteous and generous, and yet he paid scrupulous attention to what he was entrusted to do. Above all, he loved grace and always humbly addressed himself as Grace's husband whenever he introduced himself to others. When my children were little, one of their favorite activities was going to Uncle Chen's house in the summer to swim. Lee graciously extended an open invitation for my kids to go swim anytime, and we would often find him cheerfully cleaning and readying his pool for the kids. One of my kids' fondest memory, they told me, is of Uncle Chen's laughter. His deep, boisterous laugh and his wide smile that spread from ear to ear delighted all those around him and could cheer anyone up in an instant. Lee was a highly responsible person as well. Lee was the treasurer of our class before his illness. He managed our class funds of a few $100s with care and faithfulness. Just last week, Grace told me that even during his illness, he has asked Grace to be sure to remember to make arrangement for entrusting the remaining class funds to our next treasurer. Indeed, he was faithful in even the little things and saw his responsibilities through to the end. As for Christian faith, many of our Christian friends of his always thought of Lee as a doubter. Therefore, when Grace called me a few weeks ago informing me that Lee had decided to be baptized, I was excited, but hardly believed it could be true. A few months ago, I went with a preacher from Bay Area to Lee's house to encourage him to accept Jesus Christ to his life, but he still did not give us any positive answer. When the truth that Lee wanted to be a Christian settled in me, I suddenly realized that through all the Lee's life, he was not only a doubter, he was also a seeker. When I looked back, while Davis Chinese Christian Church was still in its infancy back in the year of 1970, Lee accompanied already to Grace to the church on and off to worship with us. Over the years, Lee had not given up asking questions about faith. I recall that in May of last year, when Lee and I drove together to Bay Area, we had about a total of 5 to 6 hours driving time. During that time, Lee asked me about subjects pertaining to Christianity. He asked for my understanding about the Bible's teaching on money, fundraising in church, and other spiritually related matters. Yes, Lee has always been searching for the truth. It now dawns on me that God has already chosen Lee. He chose him to be his child before the creation of the world, and Lee had a heart to respond. The Bible tells us that a seeking and a searching heart will find the Lord your God. Finally, on February 20th, in that afternoon, Lee gave a personal testimony by baptism. I was so excited, and I brought him a birthday cake with the words, "Happy birthday." Lee was born again. He was a new man. Now, life on earth has slipped away from Lee. When our loved ones leave us, we feel as if we've been pulled into deep loneliness and profound sadness. Yet, because God has kept promise to raise Christ and took him to heaven, we can trust him to do the same for all who love and follow him. Lee is a Christian. The Bible promises us that Lee is now enjoying new life in heaven, free from the pains of our earthly bodies and worries. Jesus told us that he was going back to the Father to prepare a place for Lee. We claim these promises to be true by faith because none of us have physically been there. Though we here today have yet to experience physically going to heaven, in his book, 90 Minutes in Heaven, Pastor Don Piper tells of his journey to heaven and back. On a rainy day, Don was involved in a horrific car crash where medical personnel proclaimed that he had died instantly. By the time they found him, he had no pulse, no breathing, and no heartbeat. However, 90 minutes after the wreck, while another minister prayed for him at the scene of the crash, Pastor Don Piper miraculously returned to life on earth with a vivid memory of the inexpressible heavenly bliss. He said in his book, "When I die, a light enveloped me, and with a brilliance beyond earthly comprehension or description. That is all. In my next moment of awareness, I was standing in heaven." He went on to say, "I stood in front of a brilliant, ornate gate. As the crowd rushed toward me, I knew instantly that all of them had died during my lifetime, and all of them were Christians. Their presence seemed absolutely natural. They rushed toward me, and every person was smiling, rejoicing, shouting, and praising God. It was as if they had all gathered just outside Heaven's Gate, waiting for me. I felt loved, more loved than ever before in my life." That's what Don said. Don Piper went on to tell about the people he met. His grandfather, his great-grandfather, his great-grandmother, his Sunday school teacher, his classmates who died before him. He also mentioned that the music and the joy sounds in heaven was beyond anything human words could describe. Hundreds of sounds were being sung at the same time and in perfect harmony. He said, "I was home. I was where I belong." I know this is the welcome that Lee experienced as well when he passed from this earth to eternal life in heaven. I know that he will be waiting for all of his Christian friends when they arrive. I know that he was smiling, rejoicing, shouting, and praising God. I know because this is what God has promised everyone who believes in him. In closing, Well, Lee was a loving husband, a doting father and grandfather, and a dear, dear friend to everyone here. And we are all profoundly saddened that he is no longer physically here with us on earth. But we can hold on to the fact that our beloved Lee is now in heaven, embraced by his loved ones, friends who went there before him in the presence of God. One day, he will stand at heaven's gate to welcome me when my earthly journey comes to an end. What a joyous reunion it will be. So long, Lee, we shall meet again.